Joe, so do you know the concept of Carl Jung's archetypes?
I'm familiar with it.
So, Carl Jung's archetypes are essentially like the unconscious drivers of our mind that are deep, deep, deep within us, just to give a tiny little, very brief definition. So, the archetypes are as follows: artist, innocent, sage, explorer, outlaw, magician, hero, lover, jester, everyman, caregiver, and ruler. And my assumption is that each person has a certain percentage of each of these that make up our psyche. But we're about to find out because today we are going to take the Carl Jung archetype quiz, which is going to give us a little layout here of the archetypes that make up our unconscious. We'll put a link in the description so everyone can follow along and have some great fun yourselves.
So I guess the it just asks a question and then you get to choose strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this one has a neutral. You see some of these that don't have a neutral, so they kind of force you to go in one direction or the other, which I can definitely appreciate.
Yeah, I like that too because I always find myself wanting to pick neutral.
I'm going to try not to, though.
Yeah.
So, question number one, or statement number one: I try to see myself in other people's shoes. For me, that is a strongly agree. That's an easy one for me. I always, always try to do that in like every situation I'm ever put in is I really, really try. I try to make an effort to like stop myself from judging and to stop myself from analyzing and put myself in that person's shoes and think like, what would I do if I was them?
See, I'm kind of the opposite where I try not to like almost just not even care. So that's why I feel kind of neutral on it, but I think I don't know. I'm gonna go with agree because I I do it even if I don't, like, consciously do it. I do that sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
It's just something that I do, so I guess I have to pick agree.
The more and more I look at situations that I would normally pass judgment on, and I really try to understand where someone is coming from because it's that the age old concept that you and I go back and forth on all the time, which is hate, anger, fear, all of the drivers of our judgment systems aren't really based in anything that's tangible, legitimate, or sustainable. So when I look at that aspect of my own sense of judgment, then I take a step back and I can say to myself, hold on, like, why don't you put yourself in the framework that they're working under and try to understand where they're coming from so that you can better understand yourself?
Yeah, I see what you mean, and I definitely agree with the point that I put myself in other people's shoes a lot, I just do that, but when it comes to then looking at me, so I'll feel like sometimes I get a little too critical of myself, so that's why sometimes I have to make an effort not to do that and just kinda just let myself, just be. But I'm gonna put agree because I do it, but I don't strongly agree with that. I'm almost neutral, but I'm gonna go with agree because I'm gonna try not to pick any neutrals. Okay, number 2. I feel sorry for people in a worse situation than myself.
My initial thought is to agree with this just because I find myself to be the type of person that again puts myself in other people's shoes and just inherently in doing that when people are in situations that are negative or impacting them in a negative way, I can't help but feel compassion for them in that situation. So for me, I think I'm going to just do an agree on this though, because I don't always feel that way.
Yeah, that's why, like, this is another one where I feel neutral. I feel nothing. No, but it's like because it's such a broad statement because I mean, a lot of people that are in a worse situation, like, what put them there? That's the thing, like
And the situation that you're considering worse depends on your ideas. So if I see somebody who seems like they're in a worse situation than me, like say they're super unhappy for some reason, and I can pass judgment on that situation and say, well, it's not that bad. Like, what are
That's
they bitching about?
yes.
But again, that goes back to having compassion and putting yourself in that person's shoes. So I think that the first statement and this statement really work hand in hand. But because I do have a little part of me that likes to think like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, I'm going to go with agree instead of a strongly.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, if you're talking about somebody who just, like, is stricken with illness and, like, stuff like that, yeah, I feel sorry for them. So, like, it's really circumstantial, so broadly, I'm going to just agree, but again, like, my gut almost wants to say neutral, but I do feel sorry for people, I feel empathy, it's like it's there, so I'm gonna go with agree.
Yeah, I think that that's the way I look at the neutral as well. If I am really truly a neutral, then that means I just can't decide on agree or disagree. But if I do find myself kind of swaying toward one or the other, like with this question, I will use agree. So yeah,
It would depend on my mood sometimes too, but I'm just gonna go with agree.
true. Okay, number 3. Friends often turn to me for advice.
I'm gonna go with strongly agree.
Does this happen
I
to
would
you often?
Yeah, I would say so. I've been told I'm a good listener, and then I just like giving feedback also, so they're gonna get my advice whether they like it or not.
Hmm.
And, usually, I mean, I'm most of the time, I think I'm pretty good at it, and people seem to like what I have to say.
I think for this one, I'm gonna do agree because I think I do in the same way that you said. Um, you know, People say that I'm generally a decent listener and that I have sort of an unbiased way of giving advice, but people don't often come to me for advice because like my circle is kind of tight. So it's not like, I'm the kind of person that like everyone is coming to out the woodwork to see my great wisdom or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when my people do come to me for advice, I feel that they really do trust what I have to say and they take it into consideration. But I don't think it doesn't happen as often as I think a strongly agree could warrant.
Well, yeah, that's what I would say too, but this question took me right back to my days in rehab. And I was like a councilman. Like I met a lot of people in there and people would come to me and be like, I need, to talk to you about this and that. So that's what this made me think of actually to strongly agree because I agree with everything you just said. Since I have a tight circle, it's not like I have people flocking to me all the time, but when like I'm placed in a situation where there's, a lot of like opportunity for that kind of thing, I find myself getting in those situations a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 4, I sometimes find that I am feeling sorry for myself. I would say in the past, this would be like a agree, but strongly disagree. I haven't felt this way in a long time.
I'm going to be 100% honest and I'm going to say agree because the question or the statement is I sometimes find that I'm feeling sorry for myself. And there are plenty of times where I can say that I'm quote unquote feeling sorry for myself. Like even like yesterday, I was at the gym and I was like 3 or 4 exercises in and I started feeling sorry for myself, like man, I'm getting tired, like this hurts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I often feel that as a reaction to situations that I'm in, but what I like to do or what I try to do is I try to use that feeling as like a launching off point to like correct whatever emotional content I'm feeling in that moment.
Yeah. Like in the past, I would say I definitely used to feel sorry for myself like too much, but all I can speak on when I'm speaking on how I feel now and as of, like, the last year or so, like, it's just not been a feeling that comes over me too much. I'm just, like, usually so full of gratitude. That's, like, one of the things I've been, like, working on and really, becoming aware of. So I don't think that as of lately I've been feeling sorry for myself very much at all. So I'm gonna strongly disagree because feel strongly about it. I probably do it now and then in small ways, but for the most part, I don't think I really do that lately.
Yeah, I think it's just important, like to me personally, just to identify the places in which I do feel that for myself because I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel sorry for myself. When I do, it feels disgusting. I don't like to feel that.
But at least you can acknowledge it and then use it like you just mentioned. So,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I never have that feeling, but I'm saying like the comparatively to how I know how that is, like how I used to be, it's not even close, so that's why giving it a strongly disagree.
Yeah, and for me there's like a very big difference between agree and strongly agree in this statement as well because the word sometimes,
Mhm.
if I sometimes feel that way, then I can say yes, like I do sometimes. But to strongly agree, that would mean that like I oftentimes feel sorry for myself. And in that way, no, I definitely don't because I do have, that inclination toward gratitude, like you said as well, and toward not just gratitude, but toward working on myself and bettering myself as opposed to blaming
Right.
anything or
Mhm.
anyone for my current predicament.
Yeah, I changed it to disagree actually because, like, you keep saying sometimes, so I have to, like, give some leeway there. So, I just change it to disagree.
Yeah, that's why I emphasize that word because whenever they put that in there, or if they put always or never, I
It should
think that's
say
really
like,
important.
I was more reading it as often, but
Yes.
sometimes isn't often.
Number 5, I enjoy imaginative stories. I mean, that's a strongly agree.
Yeah, I strongly agree also, like, journey books, the Robert Monroe books I was just reading, so fantastic, and it's awesome because they're quote unquote "true," like, they're real experiences you had, but the stories are beyond imaginative, it's awesome. It's like reading fantasy, but I really enjoy it.
Not to mention listening to and reading trip reports and things like that.
Oh, yeah,
The way people put together their stories is
it's
amazing.
fantastic.
And also, I mean, we like fiction, we like TV shows, we like
Mhm.
cartoons, we like video games. These are all imaginative stories, especially in video games and cartoons.
It's strange though, because I would've probably disagreed with this not that long ago. Because, like, for a long time, I was, like, just stuck on, like, nonfiction, hard fact type stuff, like, that's just what I was into, that's where I would vibe, but now, I don't lately, it's been pretty much the opposite, like, I wasn't watching Netflix for, like, years because I was like, "I can't watch this shit, it's too fake," it's like, but now I'm, like, enjoying it, I just started watching some stuff and, like, enjoying these fictitious stories.
It's funny you bring that up because I was in that exact predicament at a certain time where, I would look at something like a show that we grew up watching just by happenstance and that I really have like a strong, like nostalgic relationship with is Friends.
Mhm.
But if you go back and you watch Friends now, like some of it is
Unwatchable?
uh a little bit unwatchable. It's just so not realistic,
Mhm.
that when these situations arise and you see them, it's like, how could I have, but at the same time, I still really enjoy it because of those like nostalgic moments and
Yeah.
the one-liners, because that show is written pretty well.
Yeah, it's like sitcom 101, and that dude, now I'm watching Seinfeld, I'm on that right now.
Seinfeld is wonderful. We actually just watched through all of Seinfeld
Oh, yeah.
recently. Have you ever watched the last episode of Seinfeld?
Yeah.
I had no idea
Mm,
that Seinfeld ended up where it did, and I'm not gonna give any spoilers away, even though the show came out in, like,
yeah.
1920.
Well, like, the last 2
Y'all should have
seasons
seen it by now.
yeah, the last 2 seasons, Larry David wasn't on as a writer. So, the last 2 seasons of Seinfeld, a lot of people don't like it, or it's just a little different. I still like it, but they're not as good. Number 6, I often experience unbelievable dreams. Yeah, okay, that's a strongly agree for me. Yeah, my dreams are absolutely insane and intense, and as I've talked about on here, often more often now I'm having lucid dreams, and, it's something I'm diving deep into, and it's interesting, like, the more I'm putting my intention on it and, like, working on it, it's, like, showing effects, like, my dreams are extremely vivid. I get all sorts of weird, like, mythological creatures and aliens and UFOs, and it's just absolutely wild. And, like, other times, it's, like, very real. Like, dude, I've had dreams, like, where I'll, like, fall in love. It's just crazy stuff, like, it's absolutely insane, really vivid, and a lot of times now they're pretty long. Like, it'll feel like a whole day, or, like, I've had dreams that felt like weeks, like, crazy stuff. So, that's a strongly agree for me.
Yeah, I definitely could have predicted that for you. I'm gonna go neutral for this, um, for a few reasons. One, so there's this rumor, or I would like to say it's like an anecdotal fact that when you use marijuana before bed, you don't really dream as much. And I've noticed that in my case, that is true. I don't really have crazy dreams all that often, but sometimes I do. Like the last dream that I had that was really insane that I can remember was it was me and I think you were there, like just my crew, just like my family and like the people that I hold dear. And we were all looking up at the sky, and it was one of those evenings where like you see the sun and it's like a dark orange, but this was highly exaggerated color wise. And the color was fading from like around the sun, that bright, beautiful orangey color down to a dark, deep purplish black into the night sky because it was like sort of becoming night at this time. It was beautiful. So we were all looking up at the sun because it was really big and it was very orange. But the weird part of it is that we could all see it. Like, we could look at the sun without our eyes, burning out. And then we saw the sun drop. Like it just straight line dropped straight down below the horizon. And then there was this instant panic that came over me. And then I heard this like this bass sound. It was just like the most extreme bass you could ever hear, like boom. And it was just low and huge. And the sound was so massive that it just took over like all of our reality and it just wiped everything out. It was like an end of times, like doomsday type of dream.
Yeah.
I actually do have another dream story that was probably the most insane dream I've ever had. And I'm sorry to keep going on about dreams, but we talk about that quite a bit here. So this dream was awesome. I wasn't in my body, if that makes any sense. It was like a purely mental dream. It was almost like I was identifying with like just my like consciousness or something. And what was happening was my consciousness was diving deep, let's say, into, because up and down aren't really like real things, but it felt like it was diving down like deep into the concept of form and formlessness. So what would happen was I would inhabit a form and I'd understand what the form was, and then I would slowly drip into the formless, because what was happening in the dream was it was like sort of showing me that in order to have form, you must have formlessness, and you can't have one without the other. So as you keep going deeper and deeper into one, it turns into the other. So the form would turn into the formlessness, and then the formlessness would turn into the form. And this was an never ending loop of form turning into formlessness, formlessness turning into form. And it was just all night long. That was my dream. It just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper into the depths of form and formlessness. And it was really cool.
Yeah, man, people really just downplay or don't even really understand or maybe just haven't experienced, like, the things that dreams can give you. It's absolutely insane. It's crazy. Like, it's very valuable. Like, I found that it's like you're living a whole another reality in life, and a lot of times, it's just people don't remember them, or, like, especially if, like, you're a drinker or you smoke a lot, that'll, like you mentioned, kinda like, I haven't smoked since the Cannabis Fest, so, like, that's what I've noticed. Probably one of the reasons why it's been happening a lot more for me is, like, I because I haven't been smoking lately, like, I just took a while off, and now I have vivid dreams a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been doing the opposite where I've been smoking my heaviest right before bed. Like I'm in bed and I am just blasting
Yeah,
away just for the sole purpose of going inside my mind, you know,
mhm,
at a time where I can settle down for the night. It's all dark, and I feel like it's a good time to meditate. So I like to use that as part of my meditation. I'm gonna stick with the neutral for that one, just
okay.
because I don't really have dreams all that often.
I bet if you weren't smoking all the time, though, you'd probably have a strongly agree because I firmly believe that, like I don't like to really say it this way, but I don't know how else to say it, like, the level of your consciousness or, like, your the amount of awareness you have, I think affects, like, your dream activity a lot.
I think you're right.
So, I think the only reason is just because probably it's true, just like if you smoked a lot during the day, I don't it doesn't really affect your dreams, but when you smoke right before bed, that's, like that's definitely has an effect on your REM sleep. But
And this says, I often experience unbelievable dreams. So when I do dream, it's not always unbelievable. Sometimes
mm.
it is, but it's definitely not often.
Yeah, I get a lot like, that one you just described, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's great, and I've had similar, like, stuff like, is akin to, a psychedelic experience or, like, I've done, like, drugs in my dreams that don't, like, exist, like alien drugs, like, weird and, like, I had, like, kinda like DMT trip experiences in a couple of my dreams.
Right
I've had,
on.
like, some weird psychedelic experience in dreams too.
It's far out.
Yeah.
Number 7, I like to stand out in a crowd. What do you think?
Uh I'm gonna go neutral. This one I will go neutral on because I don't it really doesn't matter to me. I'm trying to think of how it makes me feel. I I don't care. Doesn't matter. I don't prefer it or I don't not prefer it either. I don't it's a strictly neutral for me. I don't need the attention, but I don't like if I have it, that's fine too. I don't know. It's so circumstantial, I guess. I don't know.
I'm right there with you. Like I feel the same way. I don't really care. And it also, yeah, like you said, it's circumstantial. It depends on the situation. Like there have been times where I've been like the center of a crowd and like telling a story or, whatever. But there's also plenty of times where like I make it a point to avoid being the
Uh,
center of attention. So
yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that one.
yeah,
You're going neutral?
I'm going neutral. Yeah.
Number 8, I make impulsive purchases. Um, I'm gonna strongly agree because I can blow through money like no other. I'm not bad with that now really, but through my life, I mean, I just yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to say agree because I do make impulsive purchases.
I'm pretty impulsive generally, so I'm gonna have to go with strongly agree.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting better with that. I'm really trying to make it a point to like save money and like use it more intelligently. But I mean, yeah, I've spent money on some really dumb shit.
Yeah.
Things I just do not need but want. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with agree on that. Number 9 is I often worry for others. For me, that is a strongly agree. I'm such a worrywart. Oh my god. And especially like what this really brings to mind is every time I take psychedelics with people.
Yeah.
My first, I snap into like healer mode and
Mhm.
like making sure that I'm holding space for everyone and that everyone's okay. And I'm always keeping an eye on people and like, and also feeling responsible as well. Like if someone has a bad experience or if something's happening to someone that's like negative, I feel like responsible for it. I have this
Yeah.
problem that I'm trying to get past and get through, but
Yeah.
this is me to a T.
Yeah, I see. I get that like a little. I know you get it way more, but I know what you mean. I get that a bit too. And I'm gonna go with agree because honestly, I do worry about others, but it's very few. It's not like I worry about like even I there's only maybe like a handful of people that I have any worry for. And generally, I'd say I don't worry too much for others, but I definitely do worry about the people I care about. So, I'll agree. I don't like to burden people with my problems. Strongly agree. I just hate feeling like a burden. I don't I often feel like nobody wants to hear about my problems. Why people have the problems of their own, they don't need mine on top of theirs, that type of thing. I just That's one of my biggest, like, fears even, is, like, being a burden. Like, I hate that. So, I definitely strongly, agree. I don't like to burden people with my problems.
I'm going to strongly agree as well. Um, Although I do like to have other perspectives and maybe advice if I need it, I mean,
That's
I'll
different.
still avoid even asking for advice. I
Yeah.
try to avoid asking for help just because, like you said, like I just,
People have their own problems.
Mhm.
I don't want people to like, I just that's probably even to a fault, like, I'll keep that stuff to myself, maybe even if I shouldn't. That's why, like, I could never I've been to a therapist before when I was, like, younger, I was like, "This is the worst." Like,
Same.
I even, like, this person I'm paying them and yeah, just not good for me.
Well, when you and I were kids, we went to one together. I don't know if you
Yeah, I
remember
remember
that.
that,
It
yeah.
was the stupidest shit in the world.
Yeah,
It
it was
was just
bullshit.
not. And then in school, I went to one. I had one as well. They would take me out of math class and put me in.
Yeah, they did that to me, I think it was only, like, twice and they gave up because I
Same.
was like, "No, I'm not having it."
Yeah, they would ask me questions and stuff, and like I didn't know how to express what was going on at home and like what like the reason behind us having to see a therapist. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know how to express that. So they thought that nothing was wrong. They were like, "Oh, this kid's just like trying to get out of class or something."
Yeah.
And, and they gave up after like 2 or 3 sessions the
Yep.
same. I think it's so funny how we both have like that same
Yep.
experience with it.
And then I was forced to go back to one after I was in the psych ward. I don't know how forced, but kinda forced, you know? It was, like, something that I was set up to do, and it just fizzled out because it was just it's just not my style.
Yeah, same. I'm with you there. And isn't it funny how the question right before this, or the statement right before this was, "I often worry for others," and then the one right after is, I don't like to burden people with myself."
Right.
I feel like people who answer agree for they often worry for others are also gonna answer agree for that they
Yeah.
don't like to burden people with themselves.
Yeah.
It's a
There's
character trait.
definitely a connection there.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to number 11. I make time to spend with family and friends. Strongly agree. That's the only thing that I really value in my life above all else is spending time with my people.
I'm gonna put agree, and I do just because I don't I spend so much time with myself and I like it, but I do, make time to spend with, like you guys and all that, but I can't strongly agree because I don't make a ton of time for, a bunch of different people. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I will lower mine to an agree because there have definitely been times where like I feel that I don't have the energy to
Mhm.
give it away to other people, and sometimes I'll like reserve it and kind of
Yeah,
crawl into my hole.
yeah, I love, alone time.
As do I.
It's
Yeah,
great.
that's true.
To a fault probably, but also I love spending time with the people I love, so I do make time for that, and I always will, but, um, I value my alone time, so I'm just gonna go agree. You good on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 12, I often make charitable donations. Disagree.
Why not strongly? Do you sometimes make
I
charitable
mean,
payments?
I can think of times where like, I not, like, to charities. I mean, like, once in a while, I'll put, like, some money in the, whatever box is there for some type of cause or whatever, but more so, like, there have been times where I would, like, give, like, a homeless person food or something in Allentown, like, just, like, a burger, like, stuff like that I would do, but it's not something I do often, so that's why I have to disagree. But I won't strongly disagree because it's not like I've never done it. Like, I've done things like that, and it turns out it actually makes you feel really good. And I recommend now it's sad because now people do it and they have to shove a camera in, like, the person's face. It's like, dude, it's kinda counterintuitive.
Yeah, I hate that. If I ever do anything like this and I ever donate to, people or anything that I consider to be charitable, I do not say that I did it. But one thing that I used to do, so I'm going to go disagree on this one as well. But what I used to do was, at like the grocery store when they say like, "Oh, do you want to round up for like this organization?" I used to always do it.
Mhm.
But then I thought to myself and I was like, so there's like I'm rounding up on the dollar every time I grocery shop, every time I do this and do that. Like charitable organizations, like who's this money going to?
That's my big thing too.
Like it's not going to most of it. The higher percentage goes to like the board of directors, the chair, all these people who work for them, marketing, design. There's so much that goes into charitable and nonprofits that the money, most of the money, does not go to the cause that you're donating it
Yeah,
to.
and a lot of it is for, sometimes it's just a cloak for some, like, nefarious plot, there's that type of thing. But, that's why I found the way to do it, and that's what I would do for a little bit is, like, give, people food, like, that's the main thing. I think it's personable, like, I would give, like, a homeless dude some McDonald's or something. Now I'm realizing I was just giving him poison.
Yeah, but you know
McDonald's is
what
poison.
though? McDonald's is not poison to
Right.
somebody who has no food, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah, for sure.
definitely
Yeah,
a good
I'm
thing.
being a little dramatic, but, yeah, Duncan Trussell said it, I forget, he was on a podcast saying this, he's like, boiling spirituality down, like, "Oh, forget all the teachings, like, forget about all this meditating for hours and all this stuff, just go feed somebody. Just go
Yeah,
outside and feed somebody, and then tell me how you feel."
Duncan.
And that's, like it's very true. It's a brilliant teaching.
I'm gonna raise like a GoFundMe or something. Like, I want him to officiate my wedding.
That'd be amazing.
That would be the greatest day of my life. Duncan Trussell marrying
You could
us.
probably at the very least, I don't know, he might do Cameo, that app or whatever.
I
You
don't
could
know. Maybe a
it's like
Zoom
a
call.
well, it's like a app where you pay, like, a celebrity and they'll call you or, like, make a video for you or something. It's
Oh,
called Cameo.
Gilbert Gottfried did a lot of that, didn't
A
he?
lot of people do it,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
a lot of people.
R.I.P.
Okay, okay, this is you.
Number 13, I see myself as quite a patient person. For me, I'm strongly agreeing. I'm super patient.
I will agree because I can be impatient, but I wouldn't consider myself impatient. That's a tough one. Sometimes I find myself being impatient for sure. But like I'm trying to think because I keep thinking into my deep past in times where I was very impatient. And I'm thinking I'm not really like that now. So um there have been times where I used to be very impatient. I think now I am pretty patient. So I'm gonna agree.
I'm very patient with people.
Hmm.
I when I start to get a little impatient is with things that I can't control.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that's the only time that I consider myself like I get impatient sometimes, like when there's just circumstances that I'm in where like say I'm trying to get somewhere on time and like something happened that was out of my control that's preventing me from getting there, I'll start to get a little bit impatient.
Hmm.
But I still, even in those situations, I'm not like slamming on my steering wheel and like yelling at people and like going crazy.
Yeah, I'm
You know
not
what I
that
mean?
guy. Definitely
Like,
not that guy.
so I still consider myself very patient because even in situations where I'm feeling impatient, I can still control myself and just be a normal patient person, even under those pressures.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I could probably strongly agree, but I'm just gonna go with agree. Um, Number 14, I like to be alone with my thoughts at times. Strongly agree. That's what I was just kinda talking about. I love it. They're like I've always been that way too. It's like, it kinda blows my mind. I mean, this is where, like, I guess you would say I'm an introvert, like, watching people that like, extroverts that need to be around, like, people all the time, to me, that's kinda mind blowing because I can't handle that. Like, I love just being able to basically meditate, even if it's not, like just being by myself and being able to only be there with my own thoughts. It's just there's nothing else like it. So, I think, yeah, I have to strongly agree.
Yeah, I picked strongly agree as well. Definitely love to spend time with myself. I've always been a person who likes to have alone time, just be with my own mind and, whether it's quiet or whether, you know, my mind tells me that it wants to like indulge in like, something that, I like to do, like
Well, even just like it says, like, what did it say? Being alone with my thoughts, like, it's sometimes I find it fun, like a hobby just to think about things, like contemplation and stuff. It's like, you can't get that anywhere else, like, besides from, like, solitude.
it's a different kind of experience and having to always have the mask on. I like
Yeah.
I love to take the mask off and I just love
Mhm.
to exist without it. So yeah, strongly agree for me. All right, number 15. I'm often the last to decide when ordering at a restaurant. Me, this is easy, strongly disagree. I know exactly what I want because I'm the kind of person that when I go to a restaurant, there's one thing that I always get. I have a favorite menu item, and no matter what, most of the time, 98% of the time, I'm getting that one thing. So I always know what I want before anybody else does.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree also, just disagree because that's happened to me a couple times, but I'm a very basic eater, so usually, like, I get, like, a lot of the same stuff when I go to places, just like steak and broccoli or something, like, I don't go too crazy with food, so I usually know what I'm gonna get, but once in a while, I'll find myself at a place, like, really struggling, so, like, that's kinda rare, but it happens, so sometimes I struggle with making a decision on food, but not often, so disagree for me. Number 16, I make time to listen to other people's problems. I'm going to agree. Lately, I haven't been doing it as much, but it kind of relates back to the other question that we had. I do listen to other people's problems and I enjoy helping them with them. It's just people don't unleash their problems on me lately all the time. Like it's not something I'm doing a lot, but I definitely will and I do.
I'm going to use a strongly agree here because I do love to listen to other people's problems. I love to give advice. I love to get perspectives that aren't mine, and try to understand life experiences that I don't have. I love it. So yeah, for me, it's definitely a strongly agree.
Cause yeah, like in doing that, you end up learning a lot too. It's not like you're just sitting there trying to solve someone's problem. Like you get something from it. Like you're also going through the problem in your head and, like, kinda solving it yourself and trying to help the other person, like, it's a cool little dance. So I do enjoy it, and, I definitely agree, but like I said, it just doesn't come up too much lately, so
And one thing I love almost more than anything is seeing people work through and talk about the things that they don't think that they're allowed to talk about. Some people, when they talk about things to their friends or their significant other, and like they really talk about the deep loves and interests and passions that they have. I've had a few situations of friends of mine and stuff who had told me that, like, oh, I can't talk about this. They had asked me, is it okay that I'm talking about this for so long? Because this person or that person, like, they just tell me to shut the fuck up. And I think to myself, wow, that's crazy. Cause there's nothing I love more than to watch somebody and to hear someone talk about something that they're passionate about. There's like a light in their eyes and in their heart that just explodes. And I'm just like, hell yeah. Like, I want to hear what you're passionate about or your problems or like whatever's going on deep within you. Because to me, this statement may as well say, I do not like small talk. I want to hear about what's going on deep inside a person. And
Mhm.
that to me is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, and that's very common too when, like, people will say, like, when you mention that, that's like, "Oh, I can't really talk about this to so and so." It's like it's really interesting to see a person in, like, a vulnerable state and, like, watch how they handle it, and it helps, because like, then you're giving advice and you see if they take it or not or how that works for them because some things that, you might do in the situation won't work for the person giving you, you know, their problems and whatnot, so
And for this one, even just listening, like a lot of times, like I won't even say anything. I'll just listen and just let the person get out what they want to get out.
yeah, that's
And
usually
that
the
in it,
move.
yeah, that in itself is usually better than like saying, oh, well, I think this, because, the person normally that doesn't get to talk about the things that they're passionate about just need to get it out.
Yeah, you gotta be really conscious of that, like, you gotta make sure that if they end with a question, like, if they're not ending with questions, don't give feedback, You don't have to, like, if they're just spilling it, then you're just like, "Oh, I see, I understand how you feel, this, that," but it's when they ask questions, then you get to really, maybe start throwing some ideas at them.
And that's like a conversational skill. And it's one that I always work on because obviously I'm not perfect at this. I sometimes I do interject and I do try to like, impose my own ideas on people, but I really try hard not to. And I've been doing a better and better job as the years go on too with that.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Let's move on to number 17. In games, winning is my main objective. Oh,
I guess I have to go with, yeah, I mean, I guess agree. Not strongly. I was gonna say strongly, but I just agree because some games I don't really care too much about winning. But usually if I'm in like any type of competition, it's like, yeah, of course, like I want to win, and that's what's most important.
yeah. There was a time where this would be an easy, strongly agree for me because I used to be like, I used to judge my value off of whether or not I was better than other people at things, which is stupid. But I am still very competitive. I mean, grew up wrestling, boxed, like combat sports have been a huge part of my life for a long time. And inherent in those is just the competitive nature that you're not going to get rid of. And not that I'd want to, because I love competition, whether that be physical or mental, even like debates. I love watching debates. I don't like having debates as much anymore because people don't really know how to have a good faith debate nowadays. People just like to disparage and hate on the other side. But winning is not always the main objective. Like if I'm playing a video game, even say like with people, depending on the game, it won't really matter to me much if I win or lose, and sometimes I might even like feel better if somebody else wins,
Yeah, I know what you mean. But when you boil it down, what's the point is to win, you know?
which is why I went with the greed because I,
Yeah.
I do have underlying that competitive nature and that thing inside me that when I do lose, I'm like, shit,
Yeah.
like I gotta get better.
Yeah, fun is important, but it's fun to win, and it's also in saying this, it's not like it's so important that I'm crushed if I lose at something, it's not like that either, but, yeah, I'm gonna agree. Number 18, people rely on me to fix problems. Disagree. I mean, I don't I don't really have anybody that relies on me to fix anything for them. Like, if I'm fixing someone's problems, it's because I'm, like, kinda putting myself out there. It's not like I don't have, like, a family dependent on me, like, I don't you know what I mean? So, for me, I'm gonna disagree, but because usually, like I said, if I'm gonna fix a problem, it's more of me putting myself into the situation rather than, like, being forced into it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with neutral on this, just because when people do have issues, a lot of times I do have to help. But that's the thing. It's like I'm not fixing people's problems.
Well, it's different because neither of us have kids, so, like, if you have kids, this is a whole different thing, of course, and you have people relying on you to fix their problems,
Very true.
but,
Yeah, for
as
me,
a
it's mostly just helping people. People do ask me to help them with a lot of things, but I'm not fixing people's problems. So neutral.
yeah, I got disagree.
Okay, number 19. In a discussion, I argue until people come around to my viewpoint.
This is really circumstantial for me, 'cause I don't I don't know, I think I might have to go neutral, 'cause I don't usually and I don't actually care if somebody has the same view as me. But I enjoy the sport of, like, you're kinda saying, like, with debate and argument, like, it's kind of fun to, sway somebody and, like, put your perspective out so well that it can't be denied, but I don't have any stake in the game there, so that sounds probably like an agree.
And see, there's a difference between accurately laying out your beliefs and arguing and not stopping until the person comes around to your viewpoint.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
this is specifically saying I argue
Oh, yeah,
until
yeah,
people
yeah.
come. So for me,
Strongly disagree.
I'm just gonna go disagree because there
Well
are circumstances where like people just don't understand what I'm saying, and like I get to a point where where I won't let them talk. Sometimes I'll just
but
be like, "This is what I'm trying to say. Like, please understand."
But now that you laid that out, that's insane though, because it says, "I argue until people come around to my viewpoint." Like, I don't know if I've ever done that where I won't stop until they change their mind. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna strongly disagree now that you kind of read that out for me, because yeah, that seems wild.
Yeah, I'm gonna strongly disagree as well.
Yeah, because now when you think of, like, somebody who's done that to you, and you can see how, like, that's so opposite to what you are, and then, yeah, I'm gonna disagree. Okay, number 20. I don't like to be outdone.
If I'm really trying to be honest with myself, I think I'm going to strongly agree because I fucking hate to lose. And I also hate when I do something and I see someone else do the same thing better. It's not that I get angry or like I hate on like the person that did the thing better than me, but it makes me feel like I didn't do the work that I was worthy of or the work that I could have done. You know what I mean? It just makes
Yeah,
me feel kind of not so confident in my own self because I always try to strive for the best.
I'm gonna agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna lower mine to agree. It's not strongly because I don't like get out all crazy bent out
Right.
of shape about it,
And
but
it's circumstantial too, because like, certain things, like, I don't expect so much out of myself that I can't be outdone from, like, training with and, like, kickboxing or something with someone who's been doing it twice as long as me, like, I'm not gonna get upset if I'm being outdone.
that's true because there's something that you can learn. And
Yeah.
when we were wrestling, or like when boxing and kickboxing, when I get into the ring with somebody, like you remember Hector.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I had to spar Hector,
Mhm.
and Hector was a prolific amateur, and I had 0 fights,
Yeah.
and I go in, and I'm sparring with him, and I learned so much from doing that, even
Mhm.
though I got destroyed, you know what I mean? Like, he's not obviously, when you're sparring, you're not killing each other, but there's something that's very important about doing something against somebody or like competing with someone who is better than you because that's the way that you learn. If you're the best and you're always winning, then you got to look elsewhere for better competition if you
Exactly.
want to get better. So
Yeah, because so there's value in being outdone. So then but then there's also the feeling that you get when you have been outdone, which isn't a good feeling. You don't like it. You learn from it and the value from it, but I have to agree with it still that I don't like to be outdone, because there's always you can think back to a time where you were so blatantly outdone and you have that bad feeling. Like, simply, I just don't like it. But I can see the value in it and appreciate it and like it in certain aspects.
very well said. Okay, number 21. I find myself trying to beat my personal achievements. That's an easy, strongly agree. I really strive to be better than I was like the day before. It's a staple of how I try to live my life. I don't do great at it all the time, but I really try hard.
Yeah, I'm going to agree, because I do, but I feel like I could do more. I mean, I guess it still says I find myself trying to beat my personal achievements. I am always trying to improve on the things that I enjoy doing, but I could probably do it more. So I don't feel right with a strongly agree. I'm just gonna go with agree. Like, every time I pick up my bass, I'm trying to that's like one thing where I'm always trying to improve every time I play.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is that you find yourself in situations where you think that you could do more to improve than you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I'm in the same boat as you, but I'm gonna keep my strongly agree just because
Yeah, if that's
I
your
still
gut.
always try. I
Yeah.
still always try.
Yeah, if that's your gut, then I would stick with it. Number 22, I set personal goals such as New Year's resolutions. I have to strongly agree on this one because it brings up New Year's resolutions because last year I set some resolutions and I crushed it with quitting cigarettes and losing weight and quitting alcohol, all that, and I lost, like, 75 pounds, and I don't smoke cigarettes. So, I'm gonna keep sticking with the New Year's thing. I mean, it worked for me this year because I was motivated, so I set some personal goals. I did well with them, and this kinda goes along with the last question, trying to beat personal achievements, like, so I agree with that. So, I'm just gonna strongly agree with this one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just do a regular agree for this one because I've never set a New Year's resolution before, but I do set personal goals, not like specifically like numbers or looking for, certain things, but I definitely do have like specific personal goals. Like one of my goals that dude I never got to, I was so close, but on my 30th birthday, I wanted to, because like I'm a little person, I weigh 125 pounds. I wanted to bench 200 pounds just one time on my 30th birthday to prove to myself that I still could do it, even though I've never benched 200 pounds in my life. I got to like 195 pounds, dude,
Oh.
one time. And then I forget what something happened. And like I'd stopped going to the gym for a while, but that was like an example of like an exact personal goal that I've had, or like with boxing or wrestling, like having, winning certain fights or, matches or whatever. Like I have definitely set, even with this podcast, we're setting personal goals for ourselves as well.
Yeah. On top and also, like, with my, like, the lucid dreaming thing, I stuck to that and it's paying off. Also with, like, I did it with my diet, and I crushed it for, like, 10 months, and for the last, like, 4 months, I still eat fairly healthy, but I screwed up my whole diet. Like, I feel guilty about it because I'm eating sugar and stuff again. So now that I'm saying it out loud here, I'm gonna make sure I set that goal right now. I'm gonna get my diet back to where it should be.
Okay, number 23. I need more time in the day to do what I need to do. I mean, I think anybody with a 40-hour a week job is going to agree. I am going to hit agree. I'm not going to do strongly agree because I do waste time and I'm trying to work on my time management. But yeah, for sure, I agree that with more time in the day, I'd be able to do more of the things that like I want to do.
I'm gonna disagree. That was my initial thought on that. I don't need more time in the day, and also, one of the things is I'm lucky because I work close to home, and I get out at 3 p.m., so I have my day, and I do find myself wasting some of that time. So I can't say I need more time, I just need to manage my time better, I'd say, 'cause I have no excuses. You know, I get out of work, I have, like, 10 hours to, play with. So I'm gonna disagree.
All I got to say is anybody who's listened to enough of our podcasts in the intro to hear me say like 10 times the YouTube channel is coming soon can attest that I do need more time in the day to get these videos edited and put them up. There's
Yes.
definitely a lot of like things that I would like to do if I didn't have to work 40 hours a week. There's so many things that I could get accomplished and done.
Well, now when you mention that, totally see where you're coming from because you have to with the podcast, you're the one who does the editing and stuff, so I could see how you would need more time. Number 24, I think of myself as a hard worker. I'm gonna go I know it's kinda weak, but I'm gonna go neutral on this because I do work hard on things, but I often feel guilty that I'm not working hard enough. So it kind of evens out because I am a hard worker when it comes to a lot of things, but also there are things where I don't work hard enough at.
I agree 100% with you. I feel the same exact way, but I'm going to go with agree because I think that what you said doesn't necessarily fall in the center. I think it falls a little more on the side of agree because I do think of myself as a hard worker. It just really depends on what I'm working on.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I mean, it's not I guess, like, a lot of times I always try to I sometimes I'm a little too critical on myself, that's what it is. But I do work hard, especially and it's circumstantial, you know? If it's something I love to do or something, like, that really piques my interest, I really do work hard.
Number 25, finders keepers is a fair rule.
Hmm. This seems kinda circumstantial too. I
Yeah, that's
mean,
why for me, dude, it's a straight up neutral because it's absolutely circumstantial.
yeah, I'm gonna have to do neutral.
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. I don't see a situation where it's always a good idea or always a bad idea.
Yeah, sometimes I agree, others, it's probably not very ethical.
Yeah, it's like one of the most circumstantial statements on here so far I've seen.
Yeah. Number 26. There's nothing wrong with telling white lies.
Well, that might be the second most circumstantial statement on here. I'm gonna go with neutral for that one too, man.
I'm gonna disagree, and not saying that I don't do it, or I'll put it this way. I think it would be better if I didn't tell white lies. Morally, I guess you'd say, I think that there's a white lie, and like you said, it's circumstantial, but, I think it'd be better if I didn't do that. So I would say in saying that, that would infer that there is something wrong with it. Not strongly, but I'm gonna disagree. Aligning with truth is important, and even if it's instead of telling the white lie, I would just, uh, restructure my sentence. Like, if it's, like, something I want to lie about, I'll just say something true but kind of to infer, or like, for instance, if someone's like, "Oh, does this dress look good on me?" or something, that's a white lie. You could be like, "Yes," even if you don't think it looks good, but you could just instead say, "You know what? I think you should wear this one instead."
You know
Or
what? You won me over. I'm going to disagree. You're
yeah,
you're you're right.
and then it's also a big thing with, uh, Jordan Peterson. One of his rules is, not to lie or just tell the truth, like, and he lays it out really, really beautifully, but he convinced me that it's just better to never lie. Even if it's a white lie, you could just say something that is true to you instead of kinda making up the little lie to make them feel better. You can structure truth to do the same thing, I would say.
Well said. Yeah, I completely agree.
But I do tell white lies sometimes, so something that I feel like everybody's gotta work on that. And when we all have Elon Musk's microchips in our brains, we won't be able to lie to each other.
That'll be
Neuralink,
probably a glorious evolutionary moment in time
who knows? I
because
won't get it.
with with the inability to lie comes the abolishment of greed. You know, all of the wrongs that we see in our country and in our world are like a result of lies and white lies.
A lot
So,
of it.
okay, we can move on to number 27, which is I am often suspicious of other people.
I'll agree.
Yeah, me too. I often like question people's true motives and things like that, especially with the internet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people are just kinda grimy, that's just what it is. And this even goes back to, like, the lying,
A
like,
lot of charlatans in the world.
a lot of people would have probably strongly agreed that there's nothing wrong with telling a white lie. So, that's what you gotta be suspicious of people, in my opinion, because otherwise you're just being naive. Number 28, the best policy is honesty. So this goes along with what we were, just saying. And I'm going to strongly agree based on what I just said, basically. Align yourself with truth. And I think that's pretty much the most important thing you can do.
You know what? I'm gonna do an agree on this one. It's so funny. I was watching Ozark last night, and I was watching the episode. It was an episode where
Are you gonna spoil anything? I
No.
finished it, but
No, I no, 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 I will not spoil it for anybody. I forget who it was, but somebody asked Marty Bird something about telling the truth all the time, like not lying. And he said, like, if basically if all the time honesty is the best policy. And he said, I don't think it's always the smart thing.
well, you could I still think it's the best policy because if everybody used that policy, it would be better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sure, like, you'd say it's not the smartest thing to always be honest, but that's just because there's a lot of bad shit going on.
But it's the best policy.
I
It
think
is
it's
the
the best.
best policy.
That's
Yeah.
I strongly agree. I get where you're coming from, though. But based off of all the things I just said in the last couple questions, I have to strongly agree.
Okay. 29. People tend to laugh with me rather than at me.
I'll strongly agree. Um, I feel like you have to have, uh some type of, like, thin skin in order to be laughed at. If someone's laughing at me, I should be laughing too because you gotta be able to find, like, the humor in yourself. I can't think of the last time, probably, like, middle school, no joke, where someone was, like, laughing at me and I wasn't laughing too. Usually, if you don't take yourself seriously, which I think is another important rule to live by, just don't take life seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. And I think if you don't take yourself seriously, then you really can't be laughed at.
Well, very well said, and I have to agree strongly
Yeah,
because,
strongly.
yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, you could definitely make the distinction between like you making a joke and like you being sort of like the arbiter of comedy within your group, as opposed to like you're getting made fun of a lot. I think those are definitely two different experiences that a person can definitely have. But like you said, the way to remedy that situation or the dichotomy of that situation is to laugh at yourself. And I think
Yeah,
that's 100% right. It's perfect. And
because yeah, if you and it's like a good even like if defense mechanism, like if you're the butt of the joke, just self-deprecation, and then then you turn it around. You're not being hurt by it. You're using it to gain, more joy and laughter.
because all comedy has its roots in some sort of truth anyway. And
Yeah,
if you can identify that truth in yourself, comedy is essentially you're laughing at yourself.
yeah. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Which brings us to number 30. Would you like to read it?
Number 30, you mustn't take life too seriously. So I did say take life seriously, but not I'm gonna strongly agree that you mustn't take life too seriously.
Well, I mean, the word too is perfect in there because
Yeah.
there's only when you say something is too something, it's too serious, it's too funny, it's too whatever. That means that obviously, like inherent in the question, like, it's not the way to go. So
And it depends. I guess obviously because this is like a personality quiz, so like it's good advice to tell people to take life seriously because it depends. It really just depends on the person. For me, I don't take life seriously. Like there's things that yeah you have to take seriously sometimes, but if you acknowledge life in a certain way, you realize that there's nothing to be serious about.
I mean, there's definitely things that you should take seriously in your life, but there's nothing that you should take too seriously. Like, you should not take things overly seriously.
It's a dream. All right, yeah, I strongly agree. You mustn't take life too seriously.
I just said agree just because, there are situations where you would want to take things seriously, but yeah, you don't want to take things too
When
seriously.
you die, you're gonna be like, "Why did I take it so seriously?"
Well, I think a lot of it has like how you said, if you have kids, these questions change.
Yeah.
And I think that like if you look at someone with children, they should be taking their raising of their children like a little
Well,
seriously,
that's
maybe too seriously too at
that's
some point.
that's why I said, like, it's a personality quiz for the individual, like, for me, I don't have that, so, like, that's why I said, some people should it's good advice to tell them take life seriously when they have responsibilities and other things, but I think ultimately that you shouldn't take it too seriously.
Okay, number 31. I enjoy a good laugh. Who the
Strongly
hell
agree
doesn't?
that's what I was gonna say, like, who doesn't, strongly agree with that?
It's
I
not
hate
it's
laughing,
not possible to not enjoy a laugh. When you're laughing, you are inherently in a consciousness of an enjoyment.
but if you're, like, in such a depressive state, the thought of laughter might anger you, or if you're just such a hateful person, even though, like you said, primally, you can't you have to agree with this primally because laughing does feel good. But if just the thought of laughter is sickening to you, if you're that depressed, like I could see how like a really serious or somebody who takes life too seriously, maybe. But yeah, it's kind of insane. Definitely strongly agree.
It's almost like, have you ever heard someone say, "I don't like water"? What do you mean you
Oh my,
don't like water?
that's one of my like biggest pet
It's
peeves. If
impossible.
I hear somebody say that, I'm like, you just never thought about a damn thing, have you? You're like 80% water. You're
Yeah.
fucking number 32. I work to live rather than living to work. Um, Currently, I have to agree with this because I don't love my job, but I do enjoy my job because it gives me the freedom to basically learn all day while I'm working. It's not too strenuous, and I get to I really enjoy it because I just have my headphones in, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm learning things, trying to, like, expand my mind while I'm working, and in that case, I do love it because mostly that's a lot of what I would be doing if I wasn't working anyway. So I get to do that stuff while I work, but I don't live to work. If I had a job that was, if I got paid for this podcast or playing music or, taking psychedelics and meditating, then, that would be different.
Absolutely.
But I do work to live. But I'm only gonna agree with that because like I said, I do get to pull a lot of enjoyment out of my work.
I'm gonna agree as well because I definitely work to live. Um, I have a job that doesn't fulfill me really in any way in terms of like living to work. However, I did put just an agree because there are definitely things in the realm of living that I feel I should be doing more of. I want to travel more, and I want to do more things that culture me and stuff like that. So I'm still not living to the potential that I want to live, but in terms of the statement, I definitely work to live rather than living to work. Because, like you said, man, if we got paid to do this podcast, if we were getting paid to do something that we were passionate about, that'd be a different story. Then we could, gain fulfillment by living to work. But in our current situation and in most people's situation in the world, they'd be super lucky to have a job and get paid for something that they're passionate about, where they can say that they live to work.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just not the case for most of us.
And I mean, it's okay because we do this thing here in America and in westernized countries, but we live in luxury and we have a lot of things that people don't have. So I'm, at the same time as like, I don't find fulfillment in my job. Like I still am very grateful to be in a position where I can do the work that I do, not hate it, and I can enjoy the luxuries of living in America.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like I was saying, basically, because we have all these things, it's amazing. Like I can enjoy myself while doing the job because I get to have a cell phone. I can listen to podcasts and any read books while working or listen to them, whatever. So yeah, that's why I'm gonna go with agree, but definitely don't live to work.
Number 33, I find it easy to adjust to new situations.
I'm gonna agree. Yeah, what I think of this is a lot of people might like if you think about it, you might think to disagree, but it's in our nature to adapt. Like us as human beings, we're so adaptive. Like it's the biggest skill we have. And I feel like thinking about change, that's like just a big fear. It triggers fear. But when the change happens, you adapt. And I feel like, yeah, I have to agree with this because it might maybe and, like, thinking about it might trigger something in you, but when it actually happens, I feel like I adapt very well. Like, for instance, like, even in moving to a new school in high school, like, I thought, "Oh, that's gonna be the worst." Like, I was spent my whole life with a group of kids, and then in ninth grade, the first year of high school, I'm gonna go get thrown into a whole new atmosphere, and I'm thinking, "Oh, this is gonna suck." But I adapted very well and, like, made a bunch of friends. I mean, getting thrown into a psych ward. Like, that's not something you anticipate, and but what you do is adapt and you make it work. Same thing, like, you just thrown into situations that seem you may think that you can't handle it. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but I always end up, just being able to adapt to it. I think that's, like, the most impressive thing about us human beings. Like, we can really get used to anything, and that's it's a terrifying thing also, because if things go south, we could get adapted and used to, like, a horrible situation and just deal with it, and a lot of people do that, spending their lives, doing something that they don't really enjoy, but they're just used to it and adapted to that situation, and then they continue along that same path.
You could even say, I find it easy to, or I find it natural to adjust to new situations
Yeah.
because to me it seems natural. Because, like you said, the thought of it a lot of times is what's hard, but the
100.
actual adaptation, like when I switched jobs, that was probably my most recent really big adaptation because I was working for the same company for 12 years. I graduated high school, and then 3 days after I graduated high school, I started working a job at a car dealership, and I was there for 12 fucking years. And then I moved right to a job that was completely the opposite of that, where, you're in like an office setting where you're doing work that is much different. I mean, just polar opposite. And it was an adjustment period, but it wasn't that hard to adapt. And I thought it was going to be more difficult than what it was.
Exactly, yep. Are you gonna agree or strongly agree?
I'm just going to agree. Not all situations are going to be easy to adapt to. Because just because you're able to adapt doesn't make it easy necessarily.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So I'm going to go with agree because I do think that I am naturally the kind of person that can adjust to situations that are manageable, but there's always going to be unmanageable situations that are not easy to adjust to.
Okay, number 34. I like to have a schedule to work by. What do you think?
It depends. I think I'm going to go neutral because certain things I do, like my job, we put together a very detailed step by step agenda for the day. And I love that. With certain things, it works really well, but not all the time. Like, I don't, with this podcast, certain things are very scheduled, but when it comes to like editing and when it comes to like certain things like that, I do it whenever I can. So I don't have a set schedule. This almost goes back to if I had more time in the day, I would have a more set schedule. So you know what? Maybe I will do an agree because I don't tend to do things on a schedule, but if I had the opportunity to, I think I would schedule my time more efficiently.
Yeah, I'm with you, and, I also pick agree, and I think 2 important words there is like and work. So, like, I like to have a schedule to work by, so, like, when it comes to work, that type of thing, I think it's better, I'm more efficient, and I'm better if I have, like, a, a schedule, something organized, but I had to think about it because when it comes to just life in general, I don't really I'm not very scheduled or organized, but when it comes to, like, work, I like having a regiment, like, something to, look at and work through, so I'm gonna agree
And even with exercise too, like that's considered work.
100%.
And when I exercise, I do have a very stringent set of things that I do.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and we probably have that ingrained in us from, like, wrestling and doing all those workout programs, like, just is embedded into our brains
It is
from being little youngins.
little combatants.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, 35. I consider myself to be fashion conscious. I'm going to do agree. There are levels of fashion that I will never understand and I will never want to understand. But I think when it comes to like normal casual wear, I quote unquote fit in with the crowd. Like I'm not some, I don't wear like weird shit.
That's the thing, and that's I'm gonna strongly agree, but that's when you're talking about that stuff that you don't understand. It's nonsense. I think, like, fashion where I would it's the stuff see, there's a difference between in my opinion, so I'm just giving my opinion, like, all that really trendy stuff, but, like, true fashion is, like, clothes that transcend time, like, things that work no matter what like, not fashion trends. The way I look at it is, like, if you can look at someone and say that that just looks good in any situation, like, I don't know, I have a good idea of that. But I'm thinking, like, this crazy stuff people do, like, like Lady Gaga and all this nonsense, or, like, men wearing, like, pink dresses and stuff like that. I think of fashion like Peaky Blinders, for instance, like these beautiful suits, you know, uh, dark, like, earthy colors, things that work, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and still work today, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not, like, huge into fashion or anything, but when I look at someone, I can tell, and I know what I guess it's all opinion, but I know what, like, a timeless fashion is.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't presume to be able to say that like something is like a certain like aspect or level of fashion is like nonsense necessarily, because like some people really are into that. And some people make a living off of it. And, you have these, like the Met Gala when AOC wore that, what did it say? Kill the rich or something like that.
Yeah, it's something
Like
stupid.
that's, that's almost like social action via fashion. Like fashion is a very complex part of like the design world, I think. Especially like I went to school for design. So like there was the fashion people, and then there was like the design people. And fashion is a whole nother realm of design. It's really crazy. That's why I put agree, because like I think I'm conscious of like how things look and how fashion changes over time, but I'm definitely not in tune with like some of the real weird stuff that happens in fashion.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I have, like, a little different view on it, only because a lot of that stuff is just trend and things that catch your eye or get you an article written about you or something. But I see what you're saying, and I'm not claiming to be some fashionista or
Oh,
something,
of course, yeah.
but, I can tell if something isn't gonna work in 15 years, basically. Okay, number 36. To progress in life, one must follow the rules.
Disagree. Not strongly, because there are certain rules and frameworks that can really help you to progress in your life. But I think that overall statement is bullshit, because most of the people who have made great changes and moved the world in great ways have done so with the exact opposite.
See, this is why this is weird to me because I agree with you there. And I also think disagree based on one word because it says to progress in life, one must follow the rules. What the hell are the rules? Because if it was to progress in life, one must follow rules, I would agree with that strongly. I'm implying like a set of your own rules, like uh, something like a code or a higher power or something to live by. But if it's saying the rules, does that mean that the rules laid out to you? If
Exactly.
that's what that is.
That's what I read it as.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because if that "the" isn't there, I think it's, because like, Jordan Peterson, he gave us those books of all the rules, and they're great, and following them will help you progress in life, but whose rules are they? This type of thing. If it's just the rules, meaning rules that have been laid out for you, then I'm gonna strongly disagree.
I'm gonna just disagree, just based off what you just said too about Jordan Peterson's rules and stuff. Like there are certain rules that definitely you can build a framework around that will help you progress in life. But
But those are
also the word must is sort of problematic there too. Like you must follow the rules. Like it seems too stringent and strict. And I think the basis of the question is to get you to think outside the box and think like, what about the people who broke rules and moved the world in great ways, you know?
but still, like, you like the Jordan Peterson thing, I don't think that applies because that's what I'm saying with the word "the." Like, the rules? Like, whose rules? Like, I'm assuming the rules mean societal norms, basically. I guess, like, the laws that you have, that type of thing. Um,
Well, laws, yeah, that actually is a good. There are some laws that, in order to progress, you definitely need to follow. Like, you shouldn't be killing people, you shouldn't be hurting people. You know what I mean? Like, there are certain facets of the rules, quote unquote, that I think should be followed. But I'm disagreeing, but I'm just not gonna strongly disagree.
But yeah, like if it was just one must follow rules, I would strongly agree because you have to set, a standard for yourself and live with purpose in a certain way. But since it says the rules, I'm going to strongly disagree because I'm assuming that means, doing everything by the book, never, coloring outside the lines, that type of thing.
And that was the final question. So we are going to submit our results here and see what we got.
Are yours all extremely close?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine are too.
All right. So the way that it breaks this down is it gives you your percentages of each archetype. But on the very top, it says your self archetype and it gives you your most prominent self archetype and it gives you a bit of a description. Then it gives you your persona archetype and it gives you a bit of your description of the two, like the top archetype for each one, the top archetype for self and the top archetype for persona. So my top archetype for self is a 74% match for the innocent child. So that is described as naive, but a breath of new life and fresh ideas. Your inner self archetype is that which closest matches your true personality. Your inner self is primarily influenced by the innocent child archetype. And then for my persona archetype, it also says the innocent child. So that's the same exact thing. But my persona most matches the archetype of the Joker, even though it says innocent child.
Yeah, we have the exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm not
mine's the
surprised.
same, but also I'm tied with Joker. Yeah, are you tied with Joker too?
Um, for myself table, my innocent child is 74, my Joker is 73.
Okay, so yeah, for myself, Innocent Child and Joker are both 74. And then I have Great Father and Hero at 72, Magician at 72. But for my persona, I'm same thing, Innocent Child, but 1% lower is Wise Old Man, and then the rest are pretty lower. So those two are the top ones.
Yeah, I
But we got the
also
same thing,
I
which is
also have a great father and wise old man too, and also for archetype hero and wise old man. So yeah, we have like the exact same thing.
that's weird because we disagreed on, quite a few things.
We did, yeah, we did disagree on quite a
We
few
we we
things.
def
Yeah, I'm gonna dig a little deeper into these results when I have some time and kind of look into the archetypes and what is said about them, what Jung wrote about them.
These results don't resonate for me. The Innocent Child and Joker, neither of those resonate, even the way they're described. Maybe a little bit more with the, Innocent Child, but I'm tied with Joker and lighthearted, sociable, and fun to be around. I'm not saying I'm not those things, but it doesn't really resonate on a level that I had expected. In comparison to a while ago when I did the Myers-Briggs, it was, like, so accurate, it was dead on. It, like, told me a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, yep, 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 all this. It tells you about, like, jobs that you that would work for you, like, different professions. Uh, it really it went deep into it, and it was pretty accurate. But this was fun to take.
It was, yeah, it was fun to take. And like it's interesting, like there's some here that I feel like I would have more of, like caregiver.
Yeah. And Wise Old Man, I'm close, that's, like it's 1% lower, it's 71.5, whereas Innocent Child is 72.5, and that makes more sense to me too. The
Yeah,
the
dude,
the
like my
stoic.
my largest percentage difference is 3% between all of the archetypes that I am. So yeah, it's pretty close. Pretty cool. That was a fun one.
Yeah, it was good.
Leave a comment, tell us what you got, tell us if you resonated at all with us or if you differed.
Yeah, and let us know if you think if it's accurate for you.
And if you guys like these tests that we do, I mean, they're real fun for us. And if you guys like them, hit up our Instagram, leave a comment or something. Let us know what you do and don't like.
All right, folks. Till next time.
Till next time.